Johnny, you promise you'll come back? You hear me? Mom said, her voice breaking as I stood on the porch, duffel bag digging into my shoulder, the July 1967 heat clinging to my skin. My name's Johnny Carter. I'm 20 years old, and right now all I want is to run back inside, hide from that draft notice dragging me away from everything. But I can't. Uncle Sam's got me, Vietnam's waiting, and my heart's pounding like it's trying to bust out of my chest. I woke up that morning before the sun even thought about rising. Couldn't sleep, not with that draft notice sitting on my nightstand like some kind of death sentence. It had been there for 2 weeks, ever since the mailman dropped it off with a casual good luck kid that made my stomach twist. July 17th, 1967. That's what it said at the bottom. Report to the induction center by 0800 hours. 8 in the morning, like it was just another day to punch a clock. But it wasn't. It was the day I'd leave Ohio, leave my folks, leave the life I'd half planned out in my head. College, maybe a job at the steel mill, a girl like Marion from down the street who smiled at me once at the diner. My room was still dark when I rolled out of bed, the springs creaking under me like they were groaning about the whole damn thing, too. I didn't turn on the light, just sat there on the edge of the mattress, staring at the silhouette of my baseball glove on the dresser. I won a game with that glove last summer, pitched a no-hitter for the town team, and the crowd cheered like I was some kind of hero. Funny how fast that all fades. Now, I was just a name on a list, one of thousands getting shipped off to a war I didn't even understand. Downstairs, I could hear Mom moving around in the kitchen. The clink of a coffee pot, the soft scrape of a chair. She'd been up all night, I knew it. Her eyes were red yesterday when I told her I'd pack my bag, just the essentials like they told me. Toothbrush, socks, a couple pairs of underwear, my Bible, even though I hadn't opened it since Sunday school. I didn't want her fussing over me, but she'd insisted on ironing my shirt anyway, like a Chris collar was going to make a difference where I was going. I pulled on my jeans and that shirt, buttoned it up slow, feeling the fabric stiff against my skin. Looked at myself in the mirror, short brown hair, a little messy from sleep, eyes that didn't look like mine anymore. Too wide, too scared. Get it together, Johnny, I muttered, splashing cold water on my face from the basin. Didn't help much. When I got downstairs, Mom was standing by the stove, stirring oatmeal nobody was going to eat. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and coffee, warm and familiar, and it hit me hard that I wouldn't have this again for a long time. Maybe ever. She turned when she heard my boots on the linoleum, and her face crumpled for a second before she caught herself. "Morning, Johnny," she said, voice shaky but trying to sound normal. "You want some breakfast?" "Nah, Ma, I'm good," I lied. My stomach was a knot, and the thought of food made it worse. She nodded, like she'd expected that, and went back to stirring. Dad was at the table, reading the paper, or pretending to. The headline screamed something about Vietnam, more troops, more fighting. He didn't look up, just kept his eyes on the page, but I saw his hands tighten around the edges. "Bus leaves at 7, he said finally, voice gruff. "You got everything?" "Yeah, Dad. Got all." I patted the duffel bag I'd dropped by the door, a green canvas thing I'd borrowed from my cousin Pete, who'd done his time in Korea. It smelled like mothballs and old sweat, and it felt heavier than it should have. Mom came over then, wiping her hands on her apron, and handed me a paper sack. "Sandwich for the road," she said. "Ham and cheese, your favorite." Her eyes were wet, and I couldn't look at them too long or I'd lose it too. "Thanks, Ma," I said, taking it. My throat was tight, and I had to swallow hard to keep my voice steady. We didn't say much after that. The three of us just stood there in the kitchen, the clock ticking too loud on the wall, until Dad cleared his throat and said time to go. I grabbed my bag and followed him out to the porch, Mom trailing behind like she didn't want to let me out of her sight. Outside, the air was thick with summer heat, even at 6 in the morning. The sky was turning pink over the fields, and I could hear the crickets winding down, giving way to the hum of cicadas. Our house was small, just a clapboard thing on the edge of town, with a sagging porch and a yard full of dandelions Mom never could tame. I'd spent my whole life here, running barefoot in that grass, climbing the oak tree out back, sneaking cigarettes behind the shed with my buddy Tommy. Now it all looked different, like I was seeing it through a stranger's eyes. Dad stood by the steps, hands in his pockets, staring out at the road. He'd fought in World War II, landed at Normandy, but he never talked about it. Not once. I wondered if he was thinking about that now, if he knew what I was walking into. "You listen to your officers, Johnny," he said, still not looking at me. "Keep your head down. Come back in one piece." "I will, Dad," I said, even though I didn't know if I could promise that. He nodded once, sharp, then turned away. That was it, no hug, no handshake, just a nod. That's how he was. Mom was different. She stepped forward, grabbed my arm, and pulled me into a hug so tight I could feel her trembling. "You right, me, you hear?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "Every chance you get. I don't care if it's just a line. You let me know you're okay." "I will, Ma. I promise." I hugged her back, breathing in the smell of her flower and lavender soap. And for a second I was 5 years old again, clinging to her skirt after a nightmare. Then she let go, stepped back, and covered her mouth with her hand like she was holding in a sob. I wanted to say something else, something big, but the words wouldn't come. So I just picked up my bag and started down the steps, my boots thudding against the wood. Halfway to the road, I turned back. Mom was still on the porch, one hand on the railing, the other pressed to her chest. Dad had his arm around her now, and they looked small, fragile, like the house might swallow them up. I raised a hand, and they waved back, and that was it. The last time I saw them like that. The bus stop was a mile down the road, past the fields and the old gas station where I used to pump gas for pocket money. I walked slow, the duffel strap digging into my shoulder, the sandwich sack swinging in my hand. The sun was up now, painting the cornfields gold, and I tried to soak it all in, the rustle of the stalks, the smell of earth and gasoline, the distant bark of a dog. It was home, every bit of it, and I didn't know if I'd ever see it again. I passed Old Man Henderson's place, his pickup parked crooked in the drive like always. He was out front, watering his roses, and he gave me a nod when he saw me. "Off to the war. Huh, Carter?" he called, his voice raspy from years of Chesterfields. "Yes, sir," I said, stopping for a second. "Got no choice." He grunted, turned back to his flowers. "Didn't have one in 44 either. You take care, kid." That was all he said, but it stuck with me, like he knew something I didn't. Further down, I saw Marian's house, the little white one with the blue shutters. She wasn't out. Too early, probably, but I pictured her anyway, blonde hair tied back, that shy smile she'd given me at the diner last month when I'd bought her a Coke. I meant to ask her out, maybe take her to the drive-in, but then the draft notice came, and that was that. I kicked a rock into the ditch, feeling stupid for even thinking about it now. By the time I got to the bus stop, my shirt was sticking to my back, sweat trickling down my neck. It was just a bench under a rusty sign, next to the general store where Mr. Perkins sold penny candy and newspapers. A couple other guys were already there, duffel bags at their feet, cigarettes dangling from their lips. One was Tommy, my buddy from school, his red hair sticking out under a baseball cap. "Hey, Johnny," he said, grinning like it was no big deal. "You ready to be a hero?" "Shut up, Tommy," I shot back, dropping my bag next to his. "You look like you're gonna puke." He laughed, but it was shaky, and I could tell he was just as scared as me. The other guy, a tall kid with glasses I didn't know, just stared at the road, hands clasped tight in his lap. We didn't talk much after that, just smoked and waited, the silence heavy between us. The bus rolled up at 7 sharp, a Greyhound with chipped paint and a driver who didn't even glance at us as we climbed on. I let Tommy and the glasses kid go first, then hauled my bag up the steps, the metal creaking under my weight. Inside, it smelled like diesel and stale tobacco, and the seats were half full. More guys like us, some older, all with that same look in their eyes. Lost, maybe, or resigned. I slid into a seat by the window, Tommy next to me, and stashed my bag under my feet. The driver muttered something about Fort Dix, our first stop. Then the engine roared to life, and we were moving. I pressed my forehead to the glass, watching the town slip away, the store, the fields, the church steeple poking up over the trees. It felt like I was leaving a piece of myself behind, like the Johnny who'd lived here was staying put while some other version of me rolled off to war. Tommy nudged me, holding out a pack of Luckies. "Want one?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, taking it. My hands shook a little as I lit it, the flame flickering in the dim light. I took a drag, let the smoke burn my lungs, and stared out at the road stretching ahead. Fort Dix was a couple hours away. And after that, who knew? Training, they said. Then Vietnam. It didn't feel real yet, but it was coming fast and unstoppable like this damn bus. The sandwich sat untouched in my lap. I couldn't eat, not now. But I kept it there, a little piece of home, a reminder of Mom's hands packing it for me. Outside, the sun climbed higher, the fields gave way to highways, and I wondered what the hell I'd gotten myself into. One thing was sure, this was just the start. The real test was still out there, waiting. So there I was, rolling away from everything I'd ever known, a cigarette in my hand and a knot in my gut that wouldn't quit. I didn't know it then, but that day, July 17th, 1967, was the last time I'd feel like the kid I used to be. Fort Dix was next, and after that, they'd turn me into something else. A soldier, they said, but that's a story for another time. For now, I was just Johnny Carter, scared as hell, with a long road ahead and no idea what was coming.